Hey guys, okay. This is a we do our best version of how to just do some of this work in SketchUp, okay? I am not awesome, as you know, but we're gonna try. And then you can ask Mr. A in your Zoom meeting for specific help, okay? So the first thing I wanna do, look, I drew a whole theater, y'all. You guys did this too, right? You're like ready to move on to drafting the set? Yes, great. Um, so the first thing I want to do is save this as a separate file because who knows, maybe I'll need to use this theater again for something else. So I'm going to create a separate file for this production. All right, so I'm going to go to the little thingy and I'm going to save it as, and I'm going to call it AVT Red Ink, which is the name of the show. Okay. And then it wants me to choose a folder. So I'm going to select this folder right here, my drafting projects folder. And now it has saved it as that new name in that folder with the original file. So if I go back out and I go to home, there are now two files in my home folder. Okay, there's red ink and there's the theater walls. So let's go into the red ink model because that's the one that's for this show. Now the other thing I'm going to have you do is pop back over into Canvas where you started from today, and I'll have you download this red ink drafting and red ink wall elevation, okay? So you'll download both of those files like this so that you have them on your computer. I have them open over here in Adobe Acrobat on the other side, okay? So I'll just fly that back in a moment when my mouse is my friend again. There it is, great. So here we go. So now I have these two scenic drafting files, okay? So I need to create a certain set of scenic elements for this show. And I want to just quickly put them into the theater space, okay? The ones that are specific and measured are my floor element, okay? My wall paint that's going to wrap around will also come in. I'll have a curtain and this back wall with the newspaper on it. Whether or not you do this open door frame is up to you, but that'll be in the next phase where we'll add in the furniture and the door. That'll be the easy part. Let's start with the floor. So what we're gonna do in order to create these scenic units is we're gonna draw them outside of the theater and then move them in. And one of the things that I've done to prepare to do this is I've created a new tag by hitting the little, by opening the tags tab over here on the side, adding that plus button, creating that new tag and labeling it scenery. So I already did that. I then highlighted over here and picked up this pencil to set that as my active tag. So now I'm drawing things in a scenery layer, which means that if I turn off the theater walls, right, or the alternate walls, I would still see the scenery, okay? Now I'm going to draw the scenic units and then move them into the space, okay? So the first one that I'm looking at is my floor. And if you pull up that PDF, you'll see that the floor is 12 feet by 22 feet, okay? It's 12 feet wide and it's 22 feet and a half inch deep, which means it's actually 22 feet deep. I'm going to put this over on my other monitor so I can keep an eye on it. This is, again, a good thing if you have printing technology at your home. Get on that printer. It's going to help you out here. All right, so now, next thing I'm going to do, draw my rectangle. This is just like we did when we drew the theater floor, okay? So I come in here, I start drawing, and I say 12 feet, comma, 22 feet, enter. There's the floor, all right? Great. Now, I'm going to hit my space bar, get my cursor back, select all of this stuff, and this is a Mr. A trick, make that into a group, okay? So now that floor exists and it's a group, okay? So the next thing I want to do is figure out how to move it into the specific part of the set that I want it to be in. And that's about, we're gonna look over here. So I'm looking right here where it says 3 foot and 7/8 of an inch. We're going to call that 3'4" for our purposes. And that's the distance from the wall that I want that floor to land in the theater. Okay? So I'm going to pick up, once I have it grouped, I'm going to pick up my move tool. That's the M key. I have to be in the window. That's the M key. Okay? I can pick it up from the corner of this group. and I can slide it over into the corner of the theater space, okay? So now it's there. Now it's inside the theater space in the corner. If I hold down Shift and my middle mouse button, my rollerball mouse button, that's gonna let me have the hand tool so I can move from place to place, and then I can come back in here and I've got my little floor business, okay? I'm gonna start sliding that over, and I'm gonna type in my distance, 3 foot 4 inches, okay? So now that's in about the right spot on the floor, which is great. A situation, though, that you may have noticed is that it's kind of getting this scritchy scratchy business, and that's the overlap between the floor and the underneath layer, right? Because they're trying to occupy the exact same space. So what we're gonna do, and this is what we do in Vectorworks too, is give it just a little bit of thickness so that it doesn't stick down into the floor like that, okay? So it looks clean on top. So I've picked up my cursor tool. You can also hit your space bar to do that. I'm double clicking into this group, okay? And then I'm gonna grab my push-pull tool, that's the P key, okay? And I'm gonna select this surface, I'm gonna pull it up, and the distance that I'm going to raise it by is 1/16 of an inch, okay? So now it's just thick enough that it's gonna appear outside of that floor. So now if I click outside of this, clicky clicky, right? Grab my space bar, click outside of this, I have my floor, okay? So that is the basic process that I want you to go through to create the rest of these objects, all right? So let's go ahead and do maybe one of these wall surfaces. That's a paint problem. Let's do the, we're gonna come back to the wall. Let's do this newspaper wall, okay? So this piece of scenery was this new wall covered in newspapers that an actor burst through every day. So I'm gonna create a wall that's the appropriate size, and then we'll put newspapers on it eventually, okay? So in my wall elevation, I can see that this wall is 7 feet tall and 11 feet wide. All right, so now I'm gonna draw the wall, the newspaper covered wall. I'm gonna start by drawing the footprint of it, and then I'm just gonna extrude it up, okay? I don't wanna mess around with all of the framing the way that I'm doing in my drafting. I'm just going to draw the face of it, okay? So I'm gonna start by drawing the footprint. I know that it is 7 feet by 11 feet, so it'll be 11 feet long, and I'm just gonna make it an inch thick, even though you know, obviously, that it would not be an inch thick, because how thick is your 1 by? Not 1 inch. No, it's not. That's not how wood works. So we're gonna grab our little rectangle tool, okay? I'm gonna start stretching out my rectangle, and I'm gonna make it 11 feet long and 1 inch thick, okay? So there's my little tiny baby skinny little rectangle, all right? Now I'm gonna grab my push-pull tool. I'm gonna zoom in enough that I can see that top surface, raise it up, and the distance that it's going to go is 7 feet, okay? So now I have this wall situation, okay? I'm gonna grab my pointer again, select the whole thing, right click, and make it a group, okay? Now I have my wall and it's a group, okay? If I come back out, you can kind of see where it is. Hi, wall. So now I'm gonna grab the move tool. I'm gonna do the same game, right? I'm gonna bring it over into the theater. I'm gonna maybe grab it by this bottom corner, right? I'm gonna set it kind of on, I'm gonna grab it by, So I'm gonna grab it by this center spot, see if you can do that. And I'm gonna move that midpoint to the midpoint of the floor. So that centers it now on the floor, okay? Now I can come in and I can sort of shift my view to the top view a little bit more. I'm gonna just grab my orbit tool for a second and kind of make it more the top view. Okay, so now with my move tool again, I can grab this guy. I can start pulling him along the green axis here. Okay, and I want to pull him a specific distance along the green axis, and that is 2 foot 6 inches from my ground plan. So I type in 2 foot 6, and now that wall is 2 feet 6 inches from the back wall. Okay, so that gets me to that place. The next thing I'm going to do is put the custom textures on these objects. And the way I'm going to do that is in my materials over here, okay? I'm going to give you guys the actual custom textures. I have not at the moment found them, so I'm going to just use this other random PNG file. Let's grab that material again. I don't know, you guys. And we're going to bring it in as a material. Okay. I'm going to click up here in this back corner. And then I'm going to click down here in this front corner. Right? And as I do that, it makes the material bigger and bigger. Once it fills the space appropriately, I leave my thing. Okay? So I'm going to go back into the floor and change it to that random pattern. Okay? Just for the sake of my sanity. Okay, so let's assume that looks like the tiled floor now. Okay, now we're going to do the walls. And to do the walls, I need to go into the group. So first I'm going to come back into this untagged category. And I'm going to double click and be inside of this group, okay, where the walls are. So I've already painted the walls of this black box theater. Guess what? Black. I'm going to just grab my line tool, line tool, okay? And it doesn't matter quite so much how high it is. I'm just going to sort of sketch in on this face a line, and below that line, I'm going to grab my paint bucket and I'm going to put a gray paint on the wall. Okay, I put a peach paint, but you're going to put a gray paint on that wall. And in order to find more colors, you can open up this searchy tab, and you can come through and be like, actually, instead of peachy peach, let's make it gray. It may not be the most beautiful gray you've ever seen, but it is gray now, okay? So I'm going to have you then come in and draw some lines along your other walls and also paint part of those walls gray. Once you've done that, you click outside of this project and you're back into your regular drawing world, okay? So you'll paint those walls gray, you'll do the floor, you'll do this upstage wall, you'll add those specific materials, which I'm going to upload for you, like I have time. I'm going to upload for you into the old, the Who's He What's It canvas. I'm going to upload those into Canvas for you, and then you'll look for furniture and finish dressing out the set, okay? So let me see if I can upload this by the time class starts.